Let's begin to wind down and look at our liturgy for tonight. We read Jeremiah 31 through 34. Basically, we read all 4 verses one by one over the course of the last, say, month or so. And we highlighted, as we looked at in this liturgy, we highlighted some of the phrases in each passage. We looked at the words new and covenant, right? Brit Chadasha, and the ramifications and nuances of the word new and covenant, and things like that in verse 31. In verse 32, we kind of highlighted some of the words or the idea of what was different about this new covenant. God says it's not like the covenant that I made. When I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, they broke that covenant. What was it that was different about this new covenant that God's promising than the old covenant they already made? We looked at that. Go back and listen to all of the other liturgy highlight videos that I put together. And then in verse 33, God talked about putting his law within them, writing it on their hearts, right? Being their God, and they will be his people. And so we highlighted, I think it was just last week with Tim Hague's commentary about putting the law of God on the inside. What does this mean, that God was going to put his law within them? How does that work? And what are the ramifications? Does this mean simply God just puts the law of Moses in there, or is there a new law? Is it the New Testament? Is it the law of Christ? Is it both? How did that work out? All right, we examined that as well. And then last, when we got to verse 34, we looked at the phrase, they shall all know the Lord, in this new covenant offering that God's telling Israel about. One of the features is that all will know the Lord. What does it mean to know the Lord? We talked about that phrase as well. So hopefully you can go back and listen to those liturgy snippets and glean what we could from those. But tonight, I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to read the English. Nope, I'm not even going to read the English. I read the English last week, and we didn't read any Hebrew or Greek. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to read the Hebrew and the Greek. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull up a page from Tim Hague's commentary to the book of Hebrews, which shows the Hebrew, the LXX Greek, the Septuagint Greek, and then the book of Hebrews, chapter 8 Greek, which is the quote from Jeremiah 31:31 through 34, rendered from the Masoretic Hebrew into New Testament Greek. So you'll see a column here in a moment. It'll be Hebrew, Greek, Greek, and the far left column is the Masoretic Hebrew from Jeremiah. The middle column is the Greek Septuagint, and the far right column is the Greek text of Jeremiah. Of Hebrews chapter 8 verses 8 through 12. So you guys ready? Let's pull that up. There we go. Alrighty, I hope you guys can see my screen. Give me a second. I don't think... There we go. Alright, now it's showing up. Alright, so this is what we're looking at. Let me see if I can highlight which verses are what. Alright. First verse, Jeremiah 31:31 in the Hebrew says, Hine yamim ba'im ne'um Adonai v'charati et Beit Yisrael ve'et Beit Yehuda Brit Chadasha. And verse 31 in the LXX, the Septuagint, says, Idu hemerai erkantai facen kurias kai diathesamai to oiko Yisrael kai to oiko Yuda diathekain kainain. And then the verse 8 of the Greek rendering of the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, starting in verse 8, says, Idu hemerai erkantai lege kurias kai sun teleso epiton oikon Yisrael kai epiton oikon Yuda diathekain kainain. Let's keep going. Verse 32 in the Hebrew, right there, from Jeremiah says, Lo chabrit asher karati et avotam b'yom hechezeki b'yadam lahotziam me'eretz Mitzrayim asher hema heferu et briti va'anochi ba'altivam ne'um Adonai. Verse 32 in the Septuagint, which is the Greek rendering of Jeremiah's passage, says, U kata tain diathekain, hain diathemein, tois patrasin auton in himera epilabamenu mu. tes keros auton exagagain autus ek ges aiguptu hati autoi uk enemenon in te diathekemu kai ego hemalesa auton facen kurias. I'm not used to this font, so it's a little challenging for me to read it, but we're going to make do. Verse 9 of the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 9 in the Greek says, and it should sound the same as what I just read, very similar. It says, Ukata ten, this gives me a second chance to read it without making a mistake, right? Ukata ten dia thekain hain epoesa tois patrasin auton in hemera epilabamanu mu tes keros auton exagagain autus ex ges haiguptu hati autoi uk enemenon en te diathekain mu kago emalesa auton lege kurias. Let's keep going. Verse 33 in the Hebrew from the book of Jeremiah. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's try that. There we go. Verse 33, Jeremiah. Chapter 31, verse 33. Kizot habrit asher echrot et Beit Yisrael achre hayimim hahem ne'um Adonai natati et torati b'kirbam v'al libam echtavena v'haiti lachem le'elohim v'hema yiyu li la'am. Verse 33 in the Septuagint, Greek rendering of the Hebrew says, Hati aute he diathekain hain diathesomai to oiko Yisrael metatas himeras ekenas facen kurias didus doso namus mu eistain dianoion auton kai epi cardias auton grapso autus kai esamai autois eis theon kai autoi esantai moi eis laon. And then the book of Hebrews, chapter 8, verse 10 in the Greek says, Hati aute he diathekain he diathesomai to oiko Yisrael metatas hemeras ekenas lege kurias didus namus mu eis tein dianoion auton kai epi cardias auton epi grapso autus kai esamai autois eis theon kai autoi esantai moi eis laon. Moving along, final verse, verse 34 in the book of Jeremiah in the Hebrew says, V'lo yilamdu od ish et re'ehu v'ish et achiv lemor du'u et Adonai ki kulam yedu oti lemiktanam va'ad gedolam ne'um Adonai ki eslak la'avona ulchatatam lo ezkor od. The same verse, verse 34 in the Greek Septuagint, the LXX, says, Kai u me didaxosin hekastaston palatain autu, kai hekastaston adelphan autu, legon gnothiton kurion hati pantes e de susin, me apa mikru auton, kai heos megalu auton, hati hileos esamai tais adikaiais auton kai ton hamartion auton u me genothi epi. And then the final two verses in the book of Hebrews chapter 8, which is verse 11 and 12. I don't know why they broke verse 30 up into two verses, just instead of just making it one verse, but talk to the translators, argue with them about that. Talk to the book of, and that's the translators that did that, not the writer to the book of Hebrews, as far as I understand. But the Greek says, Kai u me didaxosin hekastas ton palatain autu, kai hekastas ton adelphan autu, legon genothiton kurion, hati pantes e de susin me apa mikru heos megalu auton. And then verse 12 says, Hati hileos esamai tais adikiais auton kai ton hamartion auton u me menesto eti. And that'll do it for the Hebrew and the Greek and the Greek. And I was going to read this Jeremiah 31:31. I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's a a traditional Jewish perspective on this passage in Jeremiah 31, right? Christians are going to say this new covenant is made with Israel and with Judah and comes to fruition with the Gentiles, and Jesus establishes it, and therefore the new covenant is basically what we're living under. And so every well-meaning Christian is going to understand that new covenant is rooted in Yeshua and has to do with Yeshua as the mediator of the new covenant, and I would agree there. Of course, Rabbinic Judaism is going to say no. That's not who the new covenant's with. It has nothing to do with Christianity or Christians or Jesus or any of that. So I was going to read the entire article here from aish.com, aish.com. But I'm not going to read that. Instead, I just want you to be aware of this particular article. You can go back and maybe read it on your own. Let me see. Is there anything that I at least want to highlight from it? Let's see. There was something in here that I wanted you to see. Yeah, okay. This part of their commentary, and again, they're going to disagree with Christianity, but they say, in addition, as is clear from these verses, this renewal of the covenant will be with both the houses of Judah and Israel, i.e. with both the southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of the 10 tribes. This clearly did not occur in Jesus' time when the 10 tribes had already been dispersed. Jeremiah also states that at the time of this renewal, there will be universal knowledge of God, for they will all know me, verse 33. This too did not occur in Jesus' day, but is rather a reference to the end of days. And so, again, they're going to say that this is not something that Christians can say is being brought to pass with Jesus, right? They're going to differ on that. So you can go back and read that on your own. The website is aish.com, aish.com, and they have a Jeremiah 31:31 article. That's all you got to do is just look that up. I'm not going to read it here for you. If you have questions about it, you're certainly welcome to write into me, leave me comments on this YouTube video, or just ask me about it if you want my ongoing perspective. But for now, that'll do it for our liturgy for tonight.